Wing It Podcast, goosedigital.com. Who do we have? This I always forget. Michael Turksani. We partook in a few beers. We're banging these out. Michael Turksani. I always forget my own name. I'll turn it over to you to give your intro here. All right. Hey guys. Cincinnati's nicely upticked in the last few years. They've got a waterfront now. They have a Starbucks. Why is that? Like, what would you say are some of the key drivers? Is it that things have changed so much in the last 5 years? Let's talk about what to look for, because you're talking about failure, which is great. Can we do something like this? Like, how much of that do you get?
His beer is going to go.
We'll wrap it
the whole
because
thing.
we've been on. This has been very good. Bring on the newbies.
It's going to be beer.
Okay. And everybody's always nervous when they come on the podcast. They get a little butterflies in the tummy. How are you doing? Yeah, we appreciate your business, but it's been a great opportunity to work with you guys and with you specifically. And thanks for being on the podcast today. Welcome to Michael Turksani. I always forget that. And no, but yeah. Well, there you go. Welcome to episode 1. To episode 2, episode 3, 4, 5, episode 6, episode 7. Episode 8. Welcome back. Episode 9. Wait a sec. Hold on. We got to do that again. I don't know what episode we're on. 10. Episode 11. 12. Episode 14. 15. 17. We think it's episode 20. We don't know if this is going to go okay or if people can hear us. 21. 22. 23.
22.
22. So, I mean, that was a little bit of a joke on the intro. Welcome back. Wing It Podcast, goosedigital.com. Who do we have?
Robin Kroll.
Kevin Butler.
Jen Pugsley.
Michael Turksani. Okay. Welcome, guys. It's been a very busy week.
Yes.
How's everyone feeling? It was a late night last night.
Busy week.
Burnt.
A little burnt out. A little bit burnt out.
Well, we had a fantastic customer event last night.
We did.
That was really fun.
Yeah, at the office. That was a good one. And then we had a webinar.
Yeah, also at the office. We had a lot going on.
One of our great clients from the Hall Group, Nancy Costa. She did an excellent job.
Mm-hmm. And we also were beaten in foosball by Nancy.
Also by
Olivia.
Yes.
By Nancy
Thanks
and
for
Olivia, yeah.
And Raptors had their parade. So hopefully we get some theme song going at the beginning, and that we already did, because that was good.
A big week for marketing automation and basketball.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so we're here to go through, what do we say? Why not start with marketing automation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
So the idea we often are in deals where people have a little collection, if you want to call that, a little smattering. A little smorgasbord of
tech.
Of tech.
Yeah.
Of tech tools, right? Between email, between landing pages, between some testing, some heat mapping,
Analytics.
some analytics, some list stuff. So then, and they get to a place where they've got all this stuff going, and now they're ready to sort of, well, they've hit a bunch of limits, and now they know they need to kind of get into something, and then they're learning about marketing automation. So we were thinking, why wouldn't you just start with a platform if you were getting serious into digital, if you were ready to spend some money? Should you just continue to go down that road of using a little collection of tools until you, or are you actually leaving money on the table by not starting with that? So we thought we'd explore that topic a little bit.
Oh, can I weigh in first?
Yeah.
So I think it's two things. One, it's the longer you use what we'll just call siloed pieces of tools, the more you're going to get used to that, the harder it's going to be later on down the road. But I think there's a level of opportunity cost where it's, if you don't have the ship righted from the start, then you're forever going to be slightly off course and slowly but surely get farther and farther away from the goal. So why wouldn't you start with marketing automation right away?
I think it's also a bit of let's say a strategic planning kind of thing. So, if you're starting off in a business and if you're only thinking, okay, this is what I'm doing in the first 6 months of the first year, and you might think, well, I'm just going to invest a little bit, test it out, see how things go. Then you might try this smorgasbord of tools and platforms to see how it goes. But that's really quite short-sighted. So if you have a bit of a longer-term vision and say, if I really want to invest to make my business successful, I want to start off with having the platforms and the tools that I need, so that I am having, I am setting myself up for the best possibility of succeeding.
So-
and then you would start with a
So a couple of the
platform.
stats, and then maybe we'll go back to some legit reasons why you wouldn't do it, but then we can pivot to
Yeah.
kind of coming back to doing it. So relevant emails drive, these are some stats that we have collected across the marketing automation vendor landscape, where they've done a bunch of benchmarking over the years to compare themselves to email service providers, single sort of email platforms with a collection of other things to their system and doing the similar function on their system, where 18 times more revenue than simple broadcast emails. So relevant emails that are personalized and targeted. 2 times more effective in lead generation than batch and blast software. That's another stat that was put together by Epsilon. 152% higher click-through rates than generic email newsletters. Triggered emails have a 71% higher open rate than regular email marketing. And then an increase in sales productivity, 14% increase in sales productivity thanks to marketing automation. This is from Adobe. And 12% reduction in marketing overhead as a result of automated tasks. So there's all sorts of, I think, when you start to look at the published research that really makes you believe, oh, well, we should be doing this. And if we are in that, disparate system mode, well, you should be building a plan to sort of move to a marketing automation platform. But we also know the other metrics that are out there. Maybe I'll turn it over. You have spearhead this piece. Like 83% of people are looking to move platforms. I mean, we know that people are not able to use enough of the platform. I can't remember the most recent stats where maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about, 98% of people agree they need it, but I think it was as low as 22% were feeling like they were actually leveraging the system enough. So I think there could be a world where if you're not ready to actually go make that strategic move and staff up behind it, so we should talk a bit about what you should do to make that a reality, it might actually be a disservice.
Well, I think that's that's one of the sort of apprehensions on investing in marketing automation is, do I really know what I'm going to do with it? And I think, I don't know, I would guess on the percentage, but I'd say there's quite a lot of organizations who bring in a marketing automation platform for the first time, and they don't really have a robust, truly documented roadmap as to where they're going to, or where they're going to take the tool, or where the tool is going to take them into, we'll call it digital marketing. And so then you're kind of using these complex systems for just batch and blast, right? Like that term broadcasting emails, right? It's just like kind of like whatever, it's generic, it's not great. And so I think that's where we're at with marketing automation. You need help, you need people who really understand these tools. And so you can see how it would be intimidating. You're like, I don't know, I need to engage my audience. Email is a legit channel. It's probably the most popular channel, certainly the most cost-effective one. Got to do it. I don't know. And then you end up with kind of like an ESP as opposed to a marketing automation platform.
But to be effective, like, so my argument with like the smorgasbord is that those aren't, like, to do those at scale too, and to be really effective even on a really good MailChimp campaign using, Unbound or whatever, that's not peanuts either. That's a lot of work effort, and that takes skill.
I actually think it could be more. And
Exactly.
the reason is because you're manually like pulling data together from the two systems, whereas at least in what we call like a true marketing automation platform, at least it's there centrally and you can just kind of see one dashboard.
Right. Yeah.
I think part of it also is that understanding that it's actually a lot more work when you're going to pull in, these less sophisticated systems. I don't think that's understanding is up there.
No, it's
up
underestimated.
front, right?
I totally
You're
agree.
right.
It's underestimated.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think of the number of people that I talk to, or, businesses that I interface with, and the type of communications that I receive. And I look at these emails and I think, wow, that is a missed opportunity because it's untargeted and unpersonalized. And I think a lot of companies don't understand that just by sending out those emails, there's this missed opportunity, right? So they're missing these sales, they're missing these growth opportunities, but they're not recognizing that they're missing the tools to allow them to actually look at those opportunities.
Yeah, like why even do it in the first place? Why run an email campaign if, it's going to be 10% effective, or even lower than that, and it's not personalized, it's missing the mark, it's going to the wrong person, or not even hitting the inbox. So
exactly.
But that's all this work effort and didn't even reach the person, right?
It could do more harm than good in a way.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I think marketers are guilty. I'm guilty as anyone. Is sometimes you're like in your head you've got this plan, you got these things you want to do, and you're kind of just you're going at them line by line. You're not really thinking like strategically, what is the role this is doing. You're just kind of like, I need to get an email out today because it's 4th of July is coming up or whatever, right? And so, if we were to change the topic just a little bit and go to maybe to like the next section of what we want to talk about, it's like take a step all the way back and say, what's the role is it actually playing in our overall strategy, and how aligned is it to the other things like we were talking about, like web? Yeah, and it's really got to be like for us, anyways. I know. Especially for Mike and I, we always kind of look at like a business starting from like, it goes from like the website out. And whenever we talk about even like a new product or service, we're like, how does that impact the sitemap on our website? But we're really closely aligned with the website. And then the next step from there is things like marketing automation and CRM. So maybe that's a good segue into like, it's really, I think, got to start at the website. And if not, like there's already gaps and silos.
Yeah. I think if if you're, I guess, to close off that last topic, why you wouldn't start with marketing automation might be that you are fall into that boat of just not having enough resources, or maybe the nature, and this might be harder to figure out, and that's why you'd want to like talk to a company like ours to sort of give you some advice. It might be that there isn't a lot of value to be gleaned, even though the numbers suggest that, you'll have better, interaction rates. Maybe your business is just too small and there isn't enough there to sort of really warrant the added investment. Right. Maybe the nature of your business is you're not, you can't really justify it from an overall brand messaging. Maybe a lot of your business is still sales heavy and you haven't had the need to sort of bring it into a marketing lens. So you could probably get by with a more simplistic, basic communication tool to start. Or the other thing, I think what you guys were talking about was that you just don't have the resources, and what you do have is someone that can pull together a basic campaign. I think if you know that going in, then as an executive that might be listening, then you know that, well, I shouldn't expect the world. And I think that was today's meeting where
just some of the stats you just kind of
and she recognized, the people that were in recognized that we know that, like, we know that those systems are going to take us so far, and that's good, because sometimes you can have the opposite effect where they will not move on, let's say, a marketing automation platform because they're like, oh well, we tried email and it didn't work. To your point, Robin, it's like, well, yeah, but the way you were doing it wasn't set up for success, right?
But they know that now. It would be interesting to find out, rewind 5 years ago, or let's see whenever they brought in the MailChimp, because I think there's still a big bucket of companies in Canada that still don't even know what marketing automation is. Sure. So the first thing they're going to go to is, well, we know we need to deploy email. We know we need, to track our websites and have some lead management over here. So, and, we need landing pages. So I think maybe, do they even know marketing automation is going to be able to handle 95% of the stuff that they need to do? And
so a couple of things, Jen. I think you're right. I think the understanding of what marketing automation is, what does this platform do, but as in what are the benefits, what are the gains, what are the opportunities? I would agree that there is definitely a lack of understanding, but I think also, and we've seen this, if somebody, we've seen companies, if a certain technology they have doesn't work, instead of saying, well, maybe it's the way we're using it, we very often see them saying, well, we're going to change that platform. We're going to go to a different ESP, or, and that's not really the problem,
Yeah.
right? It's not usually the technology. Yes, there are definitely some platforms that are better than others, but it's usually it's how they're using it. So that's the challenge, and you have to be able to recognize that as well.
It's an important call out. Like I so rarely see or am involved in conversations where it like legitimately going to another platform solves the problem.
I know, yeah. And we were talking about that with one of our brokers in their broker management system, and they're just making so many strides to utilize what they have versus jumping to the next shiny object that they're going to have a bunch of problems with.
The same
as well.
problems might exist.
Problems, right? So
Yeah.
Or a different set of problems. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we have, a good point. It all starts from the website, and I think that if you're why to do it, then I guess like why wouldn't you do it? I think if you were saying to yourself, okay, we can see that it's going to produce a higher set of results. If you start with it, let's talk about like what you're going to gain. And you talked about the website, and one of the things that we will encourage a client to do is bolt the map platform on earlier on in the overall journey, because the data is collected and you're just sitting on, you may not even know how to use it yet, and that's okay. But now you've got just reams of actionable data and insights that you can then plot your course for your next campaigns. Whereas if you've got this system over here or that system over there, now to your point, you're trying to pull it all together and get a single set. And even if you could do all that, it's going to be extremely difficult to really action it after the fact.
Right.
So,
but if we're being really honest, part of the reason you have these siloed systems is in part because you didn't want to dabble in the more complex thing. And so how then you would even go about pulling together the data for like a single view is just like, it's just not happening.
so many marketers use marketing automation platforms as batch and blast systems because they're not involving their own knowledge of how their programs could be improved, looking at the data. But I would say that for somebody starting off, it's better to do that, but on a map platform, you'll be paying more to just batch and blast than you would.
Graduate.
But then you can graduate. And the good news is you've got this actionable set of data now underneath it that you'd never have with another system to then be able to, inch that way forward, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what other kind of core reasons to sort of, get into map right out of the gate? I mean, obviously it's going to be more money than probably a disparate ESP. So I think, you're going to need to justify that. Probably complex. Actually, one of our clients that was in this week, before the party, talked about hindsight 2020. He would recommend anywhere he went, and anybody that asked him, that you either get a full agency to completely manage the map platform for you, or be prepared to hire a strong body, and likely have a backup plan, because those people tend to turn over quickly.
Well, I think if you look at doing some forecasting, right? So even if you start off with the system and you're just doing the basics, and some of the stats that you just kind of reamed off about the value add of having automated programs and that impact on open rates, conversion rates, the same thing with personalization. So if you start off and you say, well, I'm not doing any of that, and this is my growth, these are my revenues, my average basket, all of those things. And you say, well, if we factored in that uptick, if I was using any of those tools, and you could see what is the gap between how you're doing and how you could be doing, that's a great justification to saying, well, that's worthwhile, the investment of investing in a map, right?
Yeah.
It's another way to look at it.
So, I mean, as you guys were talking, one of the things that I've been thinking about in this podcast is like how marketing systems and certainly marketing automation has sort of been relegated to the front end of the pipeline. And that might be another reason to why wouldn't you go with map right out of the gate, would be to give you that sort of complete, maybe you talk a little bit about that, Kev, in terms of, not just being able to sort of get rid of an unbounce and a few other, elements that are making up your lead generation strategy, but also being able to activate your sales touch point, that handoff between marketing and sales, but then also into your customer marketing, which oftentimes we expose people to, that, well, hey, the same investment that you're making here can plot a course downstream.
I think when you look at adoption, let's just chunk it into 3 groups. It could be more, but we'll try to keep it as simple as possible. You have the lead generation, like top of funnel, then you have like your middle funnel. So maybe it's like opportunity activation or support, and then you'd have customer marketing. And I think as a marketing community, we've defaulted to assigning marketing automation to the very top of the funnel, right? It's lead gen. It's just, snap in a HubSpot and 10,000 leads coming your way. And I think part of that is like, it's the easiest thing to wrap our heads around. And as marketers, it's a lot harder for us to try to think of ways in a personalized fashion to support opportunities, whether it's sales putting up walls saying, don't talk to my opportunities, or whether it's marketers, they just don't know. Like, I sat on a call the other day with a client of ours, and they were explaining to another technology partner their elevator pitch, and it wasn't strong. And this is a marketer not able to actually articulate what their organization does.
Right.
And so that's a challenge. And then customer marketing, it's like maybe there's walls up there because the account team kind of owns that. They don't know how to do it. And I think it's hard, right? And I think a lot of time these marketers, they've got a lot going on. There's a lot of expectations. Maybe they're not even measured or compensated against. Some of that stuff is just lead gen.
Yeah.
But it also requires like a deep knowledge in terms of your solution. What are you doing? What's the value prop? And really being able to explain that like strongly, clearly. That's hard, right? And so then we go back to, okay, but we know if we release a white paper and write 250 words about why it's a great white paper, we can go and get 30 leads.
Right. It's funny, it's a catch-22 in that I was thinking of the stats that Mike just mentioned. There wasn't anything in there about retention rates, lifetime value, reducing churn rates. So none of those things. So yes, you based on that, of course, the focus would really be on the top or even maybe the middle of that funnel. So maybe that's there isn't.
A lot
Because
of
a lot of marketers are not using marketing automation platforms to focus on the customer, and therefore, as a result or as a selling point, they're not there.
Well, and even we talked the other day about the efficiencies with the money,
Yes.
the ROI on the efficiencies,
Absolutely.
the load off your front line that the platform is actually taking on, right?
That's really interesting, and I'm wondering if those are things that are going to start to be surfaced more
Right.
as there starts to be this evolution of companies that it's going to be a very small percentage that are getting to be a little bit more sophisticated in how they're using marketing automation platforms, and they're going to start looking more at customers or the efficiencies, and they're going to be able to surface those additional value adds.
We are seeing that too, like when we talk about, and it's revolving around things like marketing budget, marketing responsibilities, and just general scope. It's becoming slowly but surely not just about new business development, but it's also about that end-to-end total revenue number, right? And some of that's made up in new business, some of it's existing, but like until like the leading vendors with a lot of influence change their conferences from inbound to like journey. It's like we're going to continue to be in that, but I do think a lot of it's because it's just easier to do that, and organizations have to support this whole shift and say like, no, actually you're accountable for the whole end-to-end
Absolutely.
piece.
Yeah, and having, I think one system to perform even that top or middle of funnel tasks, one system that allows you to go and manage your landing pages and your lists and your emails and your media assets, and you're getting the benefit of all that reporting off of the one platform. So you're not in your testing platform and your heat maps, having that all within the same box. It actually does save you time. I mean,
Absolutely.
like you're not, like you said, Kev,
doubt.
it's probably there's things you can't do with a handful of systems because it's just not possible. They don't integrate that well. Not the same way as something under one hood, but B, it will be less work to launch those things. So I think that in of itself is a reason if you're going to be, like going down this road and you're thinking about getting into many more campaigns, which was the conversation we had today, and they're about to pull the trigger on a landing page platform, and they've already have, 3 instances of this and a couple instances of that, and we're like, okay, well, maybe you guys want to slow down here and go this direction, because this is going to give you that kind of 3 to 5 year platform underneath it versus having to do this again when, like you said, when you were firing on 300K a year or even 30K a year of lead gen dollars.
Right. But to their credit, like, we were talking about this before, it generally stems from a lack of knowledge of what these tools are capable of, or an ability to create like a strategic roadmap around how these tools will be used in
Absolutely.
your org. So
Yeah.
they were asking questions today. We gave some thoughts and sort of insight into how we view it, and they're right away. You can see they're like, oh yeah, okay,
light bulb
this
goes
is how
on.
I would do this, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, boom, they've got probably the first 12 months mapped out within minutes of like, okay, thinking about it in that lens, this is how it would go,
Yeah.
and like to me, that hour meeting is worth. I couldn't even quantify, but that's worth a lot for them in terms of their trajectory of how marketing is going to go power their business.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I could, probably a lot of those stats that you rhymed off 10 minutes ago are going to be very real for what they're going to see given that new approach.
Well, what we'll do is I think that kind of, hammers the message home that you should highly consider going the direction of a map if you're starting off. Like, why wouldn't you start off with it? Was, I think, the topic that we had kind of
Why wouldn't you?
brainstormed,
Yeah.
right? So, and what we'll do is we'll link in the description. We'll have to throw this up on a blog, some of these stats,
Yeah.
and then we'll link
very
that,
valuable,
and
yeah.
then you can peruse those. Okay,
smorgasbord of
Peruse
stats.
that
You can
smorgasbord of stats.
You can peruse them, Alex,
That's pretty
in your
wordy
spare
for a
time.
Friday.
Okay.
Oof, he's got a lot of editing this weekend.
Yeah, he's gonna have fun with this. You're gonna have fun with this one, Alex. You got to throw a raptor in here somewhere. I don't know where. I don't have the logo though.
Here, throw my hat up there.
Yeah, thank you. Give me that.
There you go.
Boom. See that?
Yeah, very
that?
important.
Golden
very
State?
important.
That's
Okay.
pretty sweet.
Yeah,
See that
no,
Golden State?
No, it's not Golden State.
No, I mean I'm telling Golden
Oh,
State.
okay.
You
I
see
thought
this?
I thought you were perhaps a little bit
No,
unaware
I'm
of what
connected. I'm
happened
connected.
over the last couple months.
I'm connected
here.
with
Okay.
it. So
All right.
Kawhi Leonard and I are, he's gonna be on the podcast next week.
Next week, maybe we'll have a coactus.
Yeah.
Only
Okay.
because I love to say coactus.
I know. You
All right. That's enough. Thanks.